They do it. Joining me now is Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. It's always good to see you. And these candidates stood on the stage in your state. And so I'm really curious, did you hear any of them make a really strong case to working class voters who abandoned the Democrats back 2.5 years ago? Say the 200 folks who are losing their jobs at the GM plant in Warren, Michigan, because that's closing. Do you think that they were won over last night?
So I don't want to be negative. I love all 20 of these candidates. Many of them are my friends, but I was disappointed in these 2 days of debates. I think we had too much practicing of lines to take jabs at people and not enough talking about issues that matter to working men and women. You know, you're in Michigan. Trade is a big issue. I quite frankly strongly believe that it's an issue that helped get President Trump elected.
Vice President Pence, that voters in that part of the country uniquely understand
and care about.
Yeah.
We have shuttered plants. I've got a big one on my river that's been shuttered for 25 years. And by the way, Vice President Pence is coming to Michigan next Wednesday. They waited and announced it today because they didn't want to interfere, or the group that's hosting him didn't want to interfere with the Democratic debates. And, you know, it's like the fact of the matter is, I want a new NAFTA. But the new NAFTA we're looking at right now still lets Mexico pay General Motors Blazer plant that they announced they were putting there last August, so it hasn't been a year yet. They're paying $1.50 an hour. Well, our workers understand that they're not competing on a level playing field. And until we do something that gives our workers a level playing field, they're frustrated. But we've got to tell our workers why that's a bad deal for them and how we're fighting to do something for them.
Yeah, and I know that's hard to do sometimes in a minute or even 30 seconds, but let me just show you an example and get your reaction. Senator Bernie Sanders, who has spent his entire career fighting for the little guy, fighting for the working man. That's the case he makes. But I want to play for you a little exchange from Morning Joe today.
How do the Democrats win those working class union members back in 2020?
Well, that is a great question, Joe, and I think the future of America depends upon us coming up with that answer. And I think the first thing that I hope many of the people who voted for Trump understand is that he is a pathological liar. And it gives me no pleasure to say that. But that's what he is. He says anything that comes to his mind that he thinks will get votes, but he has no intention of carrying through on his promises.
But is that to your point that we've got to come up with a plan? Well, this isn't new. You know, you're from Michigan. I'm from Ohio. The plant in my town closed where I grew up. So is it that they don't actually have an answer, or just the debate format didn't give them the right opportunity?
Well, I suspect that, you know, it would have been good if people had tried to get to some of those issues, and people spent a lot of time on health care and immigration in the questions. But I think they should have been prepared, and if you wanted to make a point, you had the opportunity to make a point. I want to say something to everybody. We're not going to win this election by being anti-Trump. You know, I'm out there, I'm at farmers markets and union halls every week. And they know exactly who he is on his rhetoric. They don't approve of the negative tone of some of his tweets. But they want to hear, they feel like their jobs are better off, that somebody cares about them. In 2016, they didn't think Democrats cared about them. They didn't think that they were going to go to fight for their job, for their pensions, or fight to keep their jobs here. And we got to learn to be for something and how to talk about how we care about working men and women, that they make enough money to live in a safe neighborhood, that they can afford to put food on their table if they're sick, not have to think about whether they can go to the doctor, but be able to go to the doctor, afford their medicine, and when it comes time to retire, that they're going to have a safe and secure retirement. It's really basic, and we're not doing a good job of talking about the basics. Put education in there, too. Educate their kids, and young people want to be able to get an education without staggering student debt.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, good to have you on the program. Thank you so much. I appreciate